Well, it looks like March went out with a bang. Hello and welcome to another episode of Fun Comic Book. I'm the Fun Comic Book Guy, and today we're going to be reviewing my pull list of comics from March 30th, 2022. And like I said at the beginning here, there's a lot to go over because the week before we only had about 4 comics to review, or at least I did. Now I have more than double that. So sit back, relax, and we'll go through some of the reviews. Please note there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, if you haven't read the books from March 30th, wait, read your books, come back, and then let me know what you think of the review. So let's get started. Our first book is going to be DC versus Vampires number 6 of 12. So we're at the midpoint of this story, and a lot happens. And I really love the fact that they chose the midpoint to do some good reveals and to have some real big changes in the way the story's going. We've been seeing Batman and the Bat Family, along with Green Arrow, kind of leading the charge to try to defeat the vampires, led by what we assume to have been Green Lantern and Wonder Woman under perhaps the Joker. Well, we find out that's not the case, and who's the Lord of the Vampires? None other than Dick Grayson, who mortally wounds Batman. A number of others perish in this, and one of the main vampires does too, without giving too much away. I thought this book was really solid. Been a very good story. I like the fact that now we're getting into kind of like the dark times elements. So we're really getting to the second act here. And I think the writing's been good. The art's been okay. But overall, a very solid B+, if not an A- on this one. Next up, speaking of Dark Ages, we have Dark Ages number 6. This is the conclusion of the Dark Ages storyline. And as you know, when I've reviewed previous books on this, in this series, I've almost been amazed that I'm still reading it, that it's still a thing, because I thought it was actually going to be a bit bigger and have a little bit more of an influence, not on the 616 books, but definitely there would be some other tie-ins. But the story just dragged from practically issue 2, 3, 4, 5. It was just this little journey to try to get to Apocalypse and finding out a little bit more and more about what Apocalypse is doing. And here, it's almost like they ran out of paper and said, okay, we got to finish up everything right now. Even the first 2 pages are still dealing with Miles being Venom and Carnage, and I'm just like, I don't care. The story does pick up quite rapidly and does conclude very rapidly. All the scenes between the new Avengers, however you want to call them, and Apocalypse and his team. I feel like it's only less than half the book. There was some good parts to it because, again, whenever they're trying to defeat someone, they're trying to, immobilize them in a certain way. Deadpool just kills Purple Man. It was just great. It's like, we were supposed to, I think Sue Storm says, we were going to knock him out. He's like, we got the job done, basically. Don't argue with results. Apocalypse is defeated, and everyone else seems to be okay. Overall, the book itself, I thought actually was pretty good. A solid B. The overall series, I'd probably give like a C. I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe it will read better in trade. Hulk number 5. I've been really enjoying this series. We still have Spaceship Hulk, and we have Ross trying to now defeat the Hulk with a giant version of, not a giant version, a giant Spider-Man. This one, I didn't feel like a lot happened, although it does seem that there's another element of Banner's psyche that took the form of Betty Brant, which is now taking over and essentially pushing the Hulk way beyond what Banner was ever trying to go forward with. And there's a lot that's going to happen here. But again, I didn't feel a lot did happen. It didn't sit with me after I read it. So I hope that issue 6 really, kicks things into a higher gear and kind of explains what's going on with this Betty element. Overall, probably a solid B, maybe B minus on the book. Spawn number 328. Art has been good. The writing is excellent. The story and the plot are getting to be a little confusing, especially for someone who's just coming back into Spawn. So we do have a possible Spawn copycat who kills a senator. The fallout from that and what's really going on here, and what are the angels and the demons trying to do with the fact that the portals to heaven and hell are closed. To me, it's just a book to kind of keep the story moving along, but I didn't feel that there was anything huge in the story itself. Again, I can't fault the art. I definitely can't fault the art. Can't fault the writing. I think it's just maybe, if I had been more invested in Spawn in the past, this would have been a little bit better. So I hate to give it a grade because I think it's my own personal lack of experience with the storyline of the past 100 or 2 issues. So I'm going to leave it at that. Overall, I would still say if you're interested in Spawn, keep going. Next up, this is a book which apparently was supposed to have come out last week, but it came out this week at my local comic center, and I don't know about you, but Godzilla vs. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #1. I'm just looking forward to this book just because it looks like a lot of fun. Here we see Rhea Repulsa, who goes out into another dimension where the kaiju exists, especially Godzilla. He's battling other kaiju, and Tommy gets sucked in, and his Zord goes up against Godzilla and loses bad. Fortunately, at the end, the rest of the team locks onto him, and we'll see what happens in issue 2. Overall, this was just a very good, fun romp, a great what-if type story. I really want to see what happens the next couple of books. I hope will just be very action-packed, and who's going to win, who's going to lose. We all know that no one's going to ultimately die. I don't think they're going to kill Godzilla, and they're definitely not going to kill any of the Power Rangers team. But it'll just be a fun experiment to see what happens. Overall, I thought the art was okay. The writing was pretty good. So, B+. War for Earth 3, issue 2. This concludes the War for Earth 3 series. Now, as you may know from seeing my other videos, I only read the first 2 parts of this. I did not read the Flash or the Teen Titans tie-ins to the story, so this was still stuck on my pull list. So I did read it, did see where it concludes. Essentially, I don't know how much happened in those other 2 books, but basically we get to the conclusion that on Earth 3, Waller's still trying to do something. We still don't know what. We still don't know what her agenda is. Ultraman finally gets fed up. I guess he's pushed to the limits by Superwoman, who essentially, I guess, tries to emasculate him or I don't know. The writing just wasn't great. And again, it's not so much the writing. I think it's just the fact that Earth 3 sucks. And Ultraman gets thrown into the Phantom Zone, and Waller ends up with her Justice League, which is going to be a group of individuals, including, Superwoman and others from Earth 3. I don't know where it's going to go. It's an interesting idea, but we'll see. Overall, for all the books, I'm going to give these a C, C-. Not really my cup of tea. The Beyond storyline has come to a close, and this is the last issue of this Amazing Spider-Man in this volume. Number 93, Spider-Man vs. Spider-Man. It does wrap up a lot of the elements that we had seen starting at the Beyond piece, more so those that or happened in probably the second or third act of the storyline. The problem I had with the book is that it really shined a bright light on something that to me was not very, very much alluded to. We knew that Ben was missing memories and things were being corrupted inside his mind, and ultimately becomes a Peter, why do you have the life that I should have type of thing. I'm jealous of you. And it seemed, yeah, that's, I guess, how a clone would feel, but this is what does it when you start losing some of the memories. And I'm trying to figure out what exactly was the catalyst for this, if it was always there, if it wasn't. Ben, you would think Ben dies, but he doesn't. He's coming back as a new Spider-esque hero, anti-hero. I don't know what it's going to be. But it does start to allude to what's going to be upcoming for the next volume, which will be coming out soon. Overall, I thought the Beyond storyline was actually pretty good. It was probably the best out of the previous couple of arcs with The Last Remains, The Chameleon Conspiracy, King's Ransom, all those things. This one I thought was actually pretty good, and it was a lot of issues. But I give this book the highest I'll give it is a B plus, only because I think that they had to force in this major issue between Peter and Ben that maybe I just didn't see in the previous ones, but in the previous issues. But here they had it, and there's still a lot of stuff left open. So B plus, good book, good storyline. I think if you haven't read it, please pick it up in trade. Something is Killing the Children, number 21. This is the start of a new part, a new story, and Something is Killing the Children. This is part 1. A young girl is, it starts out a young girl's in the back of the sheriff's car after she has discovered her entire family has been killed by what you, of course, find out to be a monster. What's nice about this book is that it does kind of build a backstory for the girl without actually giving a backstory. You kind of get an idea of the community she lives in, her a little bit about her emotional background, and for the most part, again, Erica does not show up until the very, very, very end. So really, it's focusing on essentially this cop and this girl, and he's trying to find out what she saw, who it was. And of course, we're going to probably see more and more coming out of this as this girl and Erica, I guess, eventually team up and go after this monster. The book itself, I mean, Tinian writes great books in the series, A-. Shadow War Alpha, number 1. I guess it's a one-shot. This is a Batman story that almost became the pick of the week. I picked this up at the last minute because I was like, do I want another Batman story? Some of the other Batman stories, like Batman Detective, kind of lost me. Some of the other ones, they just keep coming out with more and more and more Batman stuff. And I was like, I don't know. But I knew that this was going to tie into the main Batman series, so I picked it up, and I was blown away. The art was very good. The story was great. Essentially, Ra's al Ghul tells Talia they're going to turn themselves in. And as they're turning themselves in, here's a big spoiler, Ra's al Ghul is shot by what appears to be Deathstroke. Appears to be, because you find out that maybe it wasn't, or it probably wasn't. But now Talia and the Shadow Clan are going to go after Deathstroke. And of course, that Batman and the Bat family is going to be put in the middle. There were some great scenes between Batman and Damian as they come back together. But I know there's the writing's on the wall here. Ra's al Ghul's gone. His body's been blown up. He's gone. That's right. He can't ever come back. He's going to come back, and this is all going to be part of some bigger conspiracy. I wouldn't be surprised if the word clone doesn't come out of my mouth in a couple of weeks. Overall, though, great issue. Very surprising how well it was done. The pacing was great. An A. Before we get to the pick of the week, this was another contender. Batman One Dark Knight, number 2 of 3. So this here picks up where, of course, issue 1 left off. Batman is trying to get EMP across Gotham as they battle gangs, and gangs are trying to get EMP, kill EMP, kill Batman, wreak havoc, what have you. And then what you do find out is a big double cross by one of the cops. You don't know what happens to Montoya. You don't know if she's been left for dead, if she's being held hostage somewhere. There's Vasquez is also using, I think his name is Brody, who's the son of EMP, and she's using, she's trying to get him to get angry and frustrated, and he starts another EMP. I don't know what the reason was yet. There's a lot of things I don't know what the reason is, and there it does skip ahead quite a bit. But Batman has to go down into the depths, into the darkness, to find EMP, who's now been kidnapped. This was not as good as the previous book, I think, because, again, it is the tie-in book. The issue 2 of 3 usually is where things kind of have to slow down. It's, again, a connection between the beginning and the end, of course. The art writing by Jacques is great. It just didn't quite make it to pick of the week, but, again, I cannot wait for issue 3, which is coming out in June, so it's going to be a little bit of a wait. But the pick of the week might not be a surprise. Immortal X-Men number 1. Whoa, this was a journey. This book, when I first picked it up, I'm flipping through it, and I saw the amount of dialogue and reading. This was not going to be I'll just take a couple of minutes and sit down and pop through a book. Books like Hulk, I can do that. Even the SpiderMan book read very quickly. This was going to take some time. All I have to say is give Mr. Sinister his own freaking series. It was great. It's told from his perspective. Essentially, Magneto has decided to leave the Quiet Council, and who is going to take his place. And there's political machinations in place, but Sinister is trying to play things, trying to play everyone, trying to make it look like that he's not going to be the one who's going to be held responsible for whatever happens. So he wants other people to do that, and he calculates and he figures out what people are going to do, essentially getting Hope Summers to be on the council. But his predictions fail him, and he ultimately has to push the button to do it, which was an interesting element to watch someone have to deal with that. But it does tie into what we saw at the end of the X Deaths of Wolverine, a potential future for Moira. But what happens if you clone her? What happens if you excite her X gene? And that's where it ends here with Mr. Sinister and his little plan. Amazing. I did not see it coming. The writing was great. The art was great. I'm hesitant, but I think this was an A-plus book. My first A-plus book. I was a little taken aback with how many X books we're going to have. But I picked this up. It is a read. It's worth every penny that you pay for it. And I do think that it sets up a new series of elements for the X-Men in upcoming issues. I cannot wait to see what's going on. So, pick of the week here. And that does it for the March 30th, 2022 poll list. Let me know what you think. Did you read these books? Did you read any different books? Let me know what you thought of anything related to the comics that came out on March 30th. If you did like what you saw, give us a subscribe and a like. on the video, and put any comments you want below, and I'll do my best to answer any of your questions and or comments. And with that, I hope you're having a good day, good night, wherever you are. Take care.